Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Scot Week's ScotCon, our business and innovation and sustainability conference. We're happy that you're tuning in to join us. I have the magnificent Ian Wright on here with me today. Ian, thank you so much for joining us here.
My pleasure.
And you are an extraordinary Scot Week board member. I'm so grateful for all of your contributions and how you help Scot Week. We are so honored to have you on our board and fortunate. You are a global Scot, as well as an entrepreneur from Scotland, working here in the States with your company, Strategic Innovations, as well as other projects I know you work on. And you are the president and on the board for the American Foundation of the University of Highlands and Islands, UHI, who we also love to support. So I would really love to be able to talk with you a little bit about all of these things, as well as your own personal interests of music and photography.
I'm more than glad to talk about all of those things. I actually retired some time ago and was worried I'd get bored, but haven't had a single moment of boredom in the last 12, 15 years. So it's been, I have a fun life. I spent most of my life in diagnostics, working for diagnostic companies, ending up with Siemens Healthcare as head of their global R&D for all the reagent development, and also headed up a small group there called Strategic Innovations within Siemens Healthcare, which was a lot of fun. But when I left commercial life, I thankfully got asked to help with a number of companies. Now, my interest in research and biotechnology goes back a long way. I actually started off my life at St Mary's Hospital Medical School in London, in the lab directly above where Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. My windowsill was above his windowsill. And I was at that time studying infection in premature babies. But decided that the life of an impoverished academic was not for me, and joined a commercial company. These days I work as a consultant, so I'm currently consulting on precision health at Cedars Sinai, part of a leadership team there, the Cedars Sinai Medical Center here in Los Angeles. I work with a number of small companies, startup companies, as a board member or as an advisory board member, which is great fun. I love the excitement of new companies and new ideas and fantastic people. I also work with a number of not-for-profit organizations, and the two I work mainly with these days are the American Foundation for the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, which I'm very proud to be a part of, and also recently as president of the American Foundation for the University of Highlands and Islands. And I'm sure people who watch this channel will have seen a lot on both of those organizations. The University of Highlands and Islands came a little bit later, and I was so pleased to do that. My grandfather, his family were from the Highlands. They were all Mackenzies from the Elgin area. And the whole idea of University of Highlands just appealed to me. The idea that, and this is an idea ahead of its time in pre-COVID days, that you could have a dispersed education, not have to go away from your home and go to a large city. You could do it, and we could keep young people in the Highlands and Islands, but we could also invite people from other places to join in that adventure of getting an education at University of Highlands and Islands. So I was really pleased to join that board. On a personal basis, I also spend a lot of time, as you'll see behind me. This is a room in my house, and I enjoy music. I enjoy playing music. I always have done. Anything from traditional music to jazz is appealing to me, stopping off at classical music on the way there. And also I've spent a lot of time in photography. I enjoy taking photographs. We have a very active photographic community here in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Center for Photography. And I have a full life and very thankful for it.
Well, and I want to let our viewers know as well that we will be listing in the description some links where you can go and see some of Ian's photography, especially on Instagram, I think is where I see most of your work. It's phenomenal. And you have such an eye for art and just the world. And I love seeing your photography just because I like seeing what you're seeing and the emphasis that you put on it in such a special way. But also your music. I was able to hear you perform some music just one time, and you're a phenomenal musician. Why don't we see you perform more? And can you perform for us at some point?
Yeah, I'm always a bit of a ham. So I wouldn't call myself a wonderful musician. I like to sing. I like to play. I like the combination of that. I grew up in a family where parties consisted of dancing, talking, but mainly singing. And everyone had to sing from an early age. There'd come a point in the party where my grandfather would call for order. Everyone sat down and everyone went round the room, had their own song to sing. And those memories are still very powerful for me of hearing my aunts, my cousins sing harmonies and sing a whole variety of stuff, from very Scottish songs to me growing up listening to Hank Williams and Bob Dylan. So I had a rich musical beginning, and I still play music every day, I think. I don't think there's a single day goes by where I don't play something on some instrument. And if you want to hear me do more, always welcome.
Well, and if there's anywhere we can go to listen to you play, or if you ever, do that on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't play out as much. I lived on the East Coast for a while, and I used to play out for some charity things. And a few other things. I do it for pleasure, and there comes a point when you're playing out at venues for people where I don't want to lose the pleasure part. I don't want to feel that I'm having to do it. So I don't tend to do that. I don't have to do that. But I'm always willing to set up a jam session, Cindy, anytime.
Let's do it. That would be really fun. Although I haven't picked up the piano or my violin in a number of years. As you know, my bagpipes sort of took over my whole musical world. But I understand having the music in you. And when we talk to young students, it's so important, I think, to let young people know, if the music is sort of flowing through you and you hear it in your mind, and sometimes you're using your voice to make the music, or other times you might, like myself, you might pick up an instrument or several different instruments and you want to put the music through the instrument. And I try to tell the kids it's kind of like a detachable extension of your body, or it might be like your left hand, but it's detachable, and you always want to put it on and put music through it. So it's wonderful to hear you talk about you play music every day. So the music is definitely in you and in your soul, and that's the thing.
Thanks for saying that. And I am Scottish, as you can hear, and I won't say the word cheap, but it's the most cost-efficient method of therapy that I know. Playing music is absolute therapy for the mind and the soul, and you have to enjoy doing it. I'm not always a great one for practice, so I probably would be thrown out of more orchestras than I would ever be allowed to join. But as long as I'm having fun doing it, I love to do it.
Absolutely. So
and on the bagpipes part, bagpipes are not the kindest instrument to have in a jam session. It can work, but we can maybe find you some elbow pipes or some uilleann pipes or some small Scottish small pipes, and then we can get started.
We could do that, or I can stand down the block and open up the windows. I'll be around the block and you can open up the windows.
And you can always sing.
Oh,
if
only. I actually know a couple of Irish tunes, but I'm not so sure. But I would love to do a jam session with you. We will have to make this happen at some point and figure out.
And I do play music almost every Saturday. I have a group of people I used to play with who were the Brandywine Fellowship of the Mountain Dulcimer. in
Oh,
around the Philadelphia area, and every Saturday, and this got me through a lot of troubles during COVID. We meet for 2 hours and we just swap songs. And I have the people there from West Virginia, a good friend Russ, who will sing a song from West Virginia, and we get to the end of it, I'll sing him the original version from Scotland with the original lyrics. And I love that it's almost like genetics. There's a DNA that runs through music where you can trace historically songs, ideas, where they came from. And we just have a great time on a Saturday swapping songs with each other. And as much as I sometimes feel I'm doing too many Zoom meetings, Zoom has been wonderful, and other online things have been wonderful for just bringing people together who can't physically be together. So there's a few things like that got me through the last couple of years.
oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And I did also, I enjoyed having jam sessions. We used to do it at a pub on Sundays. And during a certain period of time, anyone can just show up and you could do poetry, you could sing, you could play an instrument, and you could play together, whatever you wanted to do. And it's such great fun, and what a wonderful idea. And we should do that sometime. I also want to talk about your role as a global Scot. I don't know if our audiences have really understand what that is or have heard of a global Scot. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what that means to you and your role as a global Scot in the Scottish community and diaspora?
I think Global Scot it's actually an official role, but it sounds grander than it is, but it's more important than it sounds as well. You know, like a lot of nations, there is a diaspora of Scots who grew up in Scotland or have links to Scotland who find themselves overseas. And when they're overseas, it's usually because they have taken a knowledge there or gained a knowledge there. And Scotland gave such a lot to me, and I'm so proud of being Scottish. I feel it's only right that I can maybe share some of that experience and help Scottish companies or help American companies who want to go to Scotland or don't know it yet, but they should go to Scotland. And so we network, we share our experiences, we share our contacts, and we try and improve the situation in general. And my focus is on biotechnology for business going into Scotland, but also for Scottish companies who want to go more global. And that's the whole idea behind it. I enjoy doing it. I'd like to do more, but it's fun to do. And I'm very proud of the letter I got from the First Minister way back then, inviting me to become a Global Scot.
Oh my goodness. And of course, as always, if there's anything we can do as ScotWeek to help you with those endeavors, we are very honored to be able to do so, because I feel the same as you do. I want to do anything and everything I can to help a country that I have so much love and appreciation for.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do ScotWeek. I have fun with all the paraphernalia that goes with Scottish organisations. It's great to dress up in a kilt, etc. But the reality for me is I want to help Scotland today and tomorrow. And the best way I can think of doing that is through things like our business conference and ScotWeek, where we actually showcase Scottish companies, Scottish organisations, and we help everyone see just what's going on in Scotland today and what we would like to happen tomorrow. And for me, that's a lot more important than me putting on my wee bit tartan kilt. But I enjoy all of it. But the idea of moving Scotland forward is what excites me.
Yes, and I have that idea as well. And I get to go to Scotland enough to know and see that there is a very modern Scottish culture that I think sometimes gets lost in the translation here in the United States, with all due respect, gets a little bit lost in how much romanticism we Americans actually have in the history of Scotland and its culture, and how much we enjoy that, because the US is not very old, and so we're looking for our roots, and there's castles and there's bagpipers and there's tartan in Scotland. But Scotland is very much a forward-thinking nation with innovation and people who are very much at the forefront of their industries, such as yourself. And I think it's so important to show that to the world, and to try to have companies look to Scotland and want to be there and have a presence there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the US is a great place for us to do that. I think the foundations of the US, you say it's a young country. It has a long history in First Nations, etc. But it's in recent days, it was founded on the principles, I think, of fairness and entrepreneurship and the opportunity, which Scots appreciate, that everyone can have success if they work for it.
Yes, and I wanted to segue with that into talking a little bit more about the education over in Scotland, and specifically what the University of Highlands and Islands has to offer and what kind of programs they have. And again, this is all going to be in the description, the links to the university, so people can get more information. And certainly please do message us if you are watching this program and have more of an interest, because what can you think of would be more fantastic than to actually go to the University of Highlands and Islands and study, or have a young person be able to do so. And they also have programs where I understand you don't actually have to be there full time. Can you talk to us more about their program and how people can get more information?
One of the benefits of having that dispersed campus is we can encompass a lot of things. And in my first introduction to University of Highland Islands, I didn't realize that's where it was at the wonderful centre on the Isle of Skye, where I went to a traditional music concert, loved it. I thought, what a fantastic building, where did this come from? And, you know, the University of Highland Islands covers so many things, from traditional music through golf management, but then also into the science and the history and the archaeology. And, you know, a pet project that we're hoping to look more at is a project for our archaeology centre in the Isle of Orkney, which is absolutely fantastic. And as you know, Scotland, people think of the tartan and the Celts, but Scotland has a Scandinavian history as well for a long time. And some of our centres, some of the archaeology we have in Scotland is just fantastic. But then we move on to sciences. There's a lot of biology, biotechnology, environmental studies, all the way through to aircraft and space studies. People don't realise the amount of work being done on space industry in Scotland. So it's a very dispersed campus, but also lots of varying interests as well. And because it had to, it built these programs based on being on campus, but also the ability to learn from a distance as well, which really fits into where, fortunately, we've ended up today with what's happened in the last couple of years. And so Scotland has always placed education high in its priorities, always. And we've produced more Nobel Prize winners than we should for the size of our country. We've produced more doctors than we should for the size of our country, and more inventions than we should have done for the size of our country. And a lot of that is based on a solid education that's been available in Scotland. I'm very grateful for the low cost, high standard education that I received growing up in Scotland. And I just want to give back, and I think we have so much to offer.
I agree, and I can't wait to be there on the Isle of Skye visiting this center in August, and I'm going to do some filming there and be able to bring that back to show our audiences a little bit about where that location is and a little bit more about that program. And yeah, there's so many wonderful things coming from Scotland, innovation all the time, and the engineers as well. And just last week, I was interviewing Russell Dalgleish, the president of the Scottish Business Network. chairman, I should say. And he was letting me know that, and I didn't know this, that Scotland actually produces the most satellites of any country. And so that is also phenomenal given the size of Scotland.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So everyone needs to check out the University of Highlands and Islands. If you have a young person in your family, you enjoy going to the Highland Games, you enjoy your culture and your history and heritage, but not only just that, if you are interested in giving a young person an amazing experience in education, and you don't have to have obviously any ties to Scotland at all, but you need to look into UHI and the programs that they offer. This will be an experience of a lifetime for a young person or a person of any age to be able to go and study there.
Yeah, and I also want to get a mention in for the Royal Scottish National Orchestras as well.
Yes.
I mean, obviously that's an orchestra which has had a fantastic history. Wonderful musicians, wonderful conductors, wonderful music, but very much looking forward to the future and realizing that the future for orchestras is not always in the concert hall. It's also on the work that goes into all this incredible amount of content that's being formed for our entertainment, and a very forward-looking orchestra as well. And another thing, something else I'm very proud to be involved in. And hopefully in the next few years, we're bringing them back to the US. The last tour was fantastic. Unfortunately, COVID intervened in the last 2 years, 3 years, but hopefully in a couple of years or so, we'll get them back here to the US so we can showcase that talent again.
Yes, and anything we can do to facilitate that. And I just want to thank you personally for bringing the Royal Scottish National Orchestra to our ScotWeek production. It's been so phenomenal to have them giving us content during the pandemic. We hope to be even more supportive of them in the coming years as they look to come over. And just as I had put in the description of their Beethoven Symphony No. 5, which thank you for arranging to have that gifted to us, which when you're seeing this program air, it aired last night on our YouTube channel, it's still there. And we ask for you to consider making a donation to the orchestra. And there's a link in the description there to make a donation, or how you can hire the orchestra or some of the members of the orchestra to come to your organization and perform. It's so important that we support the National Orchestra in any way that we can. And Ian, thank you for being such a wonderful speaker.
I did not have to do very much. It was all on them. And you know, they're very generous with their recognition of helping us and appreciating what we do for them here. But they're also very generous in their outreach programs to young people and to help promote classical music. So I didn't have to do much, but thank you anyway.
Yeah, no, we're very appreciative. And I'm going to go ahead and put the links for the orchestra and how you can get involved, how you can follow them and donate or hire them for an event you might be having in this description for this segment as well.
Okay, thank you.
Very important. Ian, thank you so much for being part of ScotWeek. I really appreciate your support.
It's been a roller coaster the last couple of years, but it's still fun. And hopefully when things get back to a new normal, we can do even more. Looking forward to it.
And we will. And the rugby match was phenomenal, and you arranged for that.
Go Giltinis.
Go Giltinis. We're going to do that again next year, and that we're still alive, and we found a way to still be relevant and alive in this virtual world during the pandemic and then now recovering after. I'm looking forward to 2023. I know that we've got a lot of really amazing things to look at scheduling, and I know it's going to be a fantastic year.
Not the least of which is our whiskey reviews on Wednesdays, which I haven't done enough of and intend to do more of. And I want to introduce my own invention into that Whiskey Wednesday, but I'm not going to reveal what it is just yet.
Ooh, is it secretive? Okay, well, I cannot wait. I'm waiting with anticipation. Have to do this very soon. Ian Wright, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you part of Scot Week and to be able to have you on today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.